I had a twin brother, an older sister, and when we were in the bush, we used to come down every Christmas, stay in the shack, and we had a dunny up the back. We had to dig the holes and whatever. We had a tank stand with the water. I had a bore. We didn't actually have showers as such outside. We had one at a lean-to that we could use. Sometimes the ocean came right through the house. We had concrete floors. We were flatter than they were at Hilry's. And what happened there, they got the water eroded sandhills, whereas we were further back from the beach and it was flatter. So, but we had little sandhills in front of us. It was the most fantastic place to grow up. And kids I met then, all those years ago, are still friends now. We're all in our 80s, but we love it. My name is Mel Atkinson. I grew up in the bush, up at Curlin, but my forefathers, etc., have lived in the area for years and years. And my Pa Deering, he had a shack at Whitford's Beach, which he built, and Johnny Alva, who was a well-known fisherman at Scarborough, they caught the biggest hammerhead shark off the beach at Whitford's, and it was put into the West Australian Museum. Don't know if it's still there. My twin brother and I, we used to catch sharks out at the island near Potter's Patch. So the things I would no way let my kids have done what we did. We had a VJ yacht, we used to sail it out to sea, and then we had a couple of other moths, little moth yachts, and how we survived, I don't know, but it was just brilliant.
And I grew a mulberry tree. At one stage, I could pick the mulberries and I could taste the salt on them, even though I'm about 1 kilometre in from the beach. So that was nice. Hello, my name's Marianne, and I've lived in this particular area since 1983, but before that I was living just not far south of here for quite a number of years. Yeah, the attraction to this area is the beach. In the midst of all this, when my kids were quite little, my mum and dad moved to Marmion. They bought an old house there, which they did up, it's gone now. And I got to the stage where I wanted to buy a block, and I thought it has to be west of Marmion Avenue. Yeah. And that was the one I could afford, was where I am now. There were a couple of others that were doable, but this has turned out to be the best one. Yeah.
We grew up at the 9 Mile Well. Well, that's Greenwood now. And right opposite where Marangaroo Road is, you'll see a sign that's got George Sears Park. Well, that park is named after my dad. So that park was there, and in that park was next to our farm. There was kangaroos, and every day the man up the road had a dairy farm. He let his cows out, and they all wandered down Wanneroo Road. And then they'd go into this reserve because there was a soak there and all the grass was nice and juicy. So they'd graze. There was about 10 acres. So they'd graze there on the grass. And then 3:30, they'd all start to wander back. They didn't have to be rounded up. They just knew they had to get back for milking. And they had bells. And you'd hear the bells going, and up Wanneroo they'd wander and go back into the dairy, and they'd help themselves go back into the stalls and wait to be milked. My name's Judy, and I've lived in Callaroo since 1971. Wanneroo Road used to be part of the Canning stock route, so there were troughs for the cattle to have drinks out of, and there was wells. And they were open, square wells, with wood round the side, and they were about 12 to 15 feet, and there's no top on them. And the cattlemen used to throw the bucket down on the chain, pull the water up and put it in the trough, And anyone bringing their cows to market down Wanneroo Road had little drinking stops along the way. So I can only remember seeing the drinking trough. There was no cattle coming down when I was little.
But Pa was there before the war, so he was there right through it all, and when that boat came aground, he was there at that time. And he was a fisherman. He earned his living catching fish there. It was my dad's shack, my mum and dad, they bought it. We used to stay at Pa, he was 2 doors away. When we were babies and whatever, that's where we used to go there for holidays. So we started, there would be beds everywhere. Yeah, camp stretchers. Yeah, not proper beds, camp stretchers or something or other. And big table with the stools either side. That's where we used to eat, wood fire. And on the walls they used to put up trays around the fish they caught. So there were lots of really fantastic memories. So when no one was around, you'd bring that door down. But all through summer, that was up. And that was like a veranda. It had 2 posts up, holding that bit up. And we had a boat shed. It was very, very lucky.
And then we saw the beach and we were like mouths open. It was like, wow, where have we landed? This is amazing. The view was spectacular. There was that Mullaloo beach and everything. It was freezing cold. We weren't expecting it to be as cold as it was because we'd just come from the Middle East and it was 50 degrees in July and it was freezing here. So that was a bit of a shock, but the beach was amazing. And we walked down with the little kids and we had a little coffee in the dome and we're like, we've just landed on our feet. This is just amazing. And we fell in love with it.
Hello, my name's Anne and we've lived here since 2010 in Callaroo and Mullaloo.
My family are all skin divers and they don't use tanks, they free dive. And they manufactured a loop for catching crays. And they sell it all over. So that they would have started that 20 years ago, my daughter and her husband. And his twins, I've got twins as well as being a twin. He's down at the yacht club. So they all love the ocean. Yeah, so I'm lucky. So I get fish, and I don't have to fish. Love it. Last night had crayfish.
We were invited to your house for dinner.
Yeah.
That's when I came out here, I heard so much about Frank Whitford and I wanted to find out a bit more. And so I rode my horse up to Whitford's and there was a few shacks there. And I found out that Frank Whitford lived there and that he'd been there since 1925 and he had built a shack there on the beach and then he'd started a bit of a holiday, so it was a holiday place, and it wasn't long before some of his mates from the businessmen of Perth were building little shacks there as well.
But to get here it was a bit difficult because there was no road out. We had tracks. We used to go along Wanneroo Road to Pearsall's garage, same as you, and we used to come down Mullaloo Drive, which was limestone, and then we used to come out till we got only about 3 miles back from the beach at Mullaloo, and there was a gate. We had a key for a gate, and we used to come in and drive into the shacks that way. There were 73 shacks along the beach, and that was Hillary's was just they only had about 25, I think, and they were a little bit closer to Sorrento. We came down from Coolum for the 6 weeks through the holidays. Dad would stay at work, he'd drop Mum off and come back later and pick Mum up. So we lived there. We caught netted mullet off the beach, used to take them into the iceworks in Wellington Street in Perth and take them by the boxes, you know, those like apple boxes, flat ones like that. Used to take them in there, but we all had ice chests in the shacks. a lot of people who did end up there were very keen fishermen. And how come we were able to stay there for so long was because we bought the land. We all had a share in it when it was sold. So there's all these acres of land and you could buy as much of it as you wanted. But then when they decided that the shacks had to go, they were all bulldozed. And I've got twins who are 62, and we moved from there when they were 12. And that was the end of holidays at Whitford's Beach.
My husband was desperate to try fishing, never been fishing before. We got ourselves a little tinny, out we went, off Mullaloo Beach, and caught a few whiting just by sticking our line over, and it was like, wow, we caught something really exciting. And had to name this tinny because it was now ours and it needed a name. So my youngest daughter said, oh, it bobs around a lot, this boat. So we ended up calling it Springfield Bob after the girls and their school and the bobby boat. And so that was our first boat, and since then we spend a lot of time in the sea. The girls both learnt to fish, loved it. In fact, the eldest girl actually won a fishing competition in Lancelin somehow. We do spend a lot of time in the water, and my youngest sails now, so she sails the laser boats out at Hillary's. And I suspect we spend most of our time when we're a family on the water or on Mullaloo Beach, and we just love it. We definitely made the right decision from looking at Google Maps and finding this place that we knew nothing about, and it was amazing. It was really, really good.
So I rode my horse from the 9 Mile, which is where Marangaroo Drive is, up to Pearsall's Garage, and then all the way out to Mullaloo Beach. And all that was at Mullaloo Beach was a water pump, and there was an old tin there, and that was for the fishermen who fished off the coast there. They could come in and pump their water out, get fresh water, and that's all that the government had put there. So that's how long ago that was. My son owns the house that I built, but I'm living in the house next door, which is called Springfield Cottage. I called it that because the suburb wasn't called Callaroo then, it was called Springfield. That's the name the developer gave it. So I just called my little cottage Springfield Cottage, and I live in that, and that's the first house to put its lights on, but I didn't build that.
And after living in Scotland and in Africa and in the Middle East, I'd say definitely this area is the most friendly and the easiest to kind of find friends and find communities. We're involved in the sailing community, the fishing community, like the school community. So yeah, I guess there's a lot of communities that we've kind of got ourselves into, and it's been great. It's been really good. I thought the library was amazing as well. Those libraries, that was unknown to me as well. That you could, yeah, because we never had anything like that. So to be able to come somewhere where you could come, it was a safe place, and there were, things to do, not just read books. There always seems to be little things on, whether it's an art project or, talks about the history of the area or whatever it is. And even the kids are doing the youth groups, and so there's school holiday programs involved with the youth groups, and also educational programs. So it's not just fun and games and trips to Rottnest and ice skating and stuff. It's actually they learn about leadership and mentorships, and they can go on little courses to help them with that and things like that. So yeah.
I'd grown up on this farm in Wanneroo in Greenwood, and I had a big flower garden there, and I used to sell flowers. And I used to go and pick them, and my mum sold them, and people used to call me into the farm and buy daffodils and chrysanthemums and all sorts of things. And so what I did, I registered the name Whitford Florist, and I worked from home, so I advertised, and I'd go over and get the flowers. And I didn't make a lot of money, but I had a bit of a go, you know.
Just so excited about this project and about this library, because I used to come to this library. I've been coming to this library since I was 10, and I remember saying, so we came over here from Manchester to Perth with my parents, and one of the first things we did was join the library and come here. Never used to be open on a Wednesday, I remember that much, or on the weekend. But I remember coming here with my mum saying, I'm going to work in this library. And here I am 41 years later. I have moved and done other things, but I've ended up back, and my parents are still in Hillary's. But yeah, there's the amount of changes that this library's undergone is just incredible. There's some photos out there that you can see on the way out. But I'm just so excited to see what it looks like when it's done. It's just going to be, I'm really stoked that we're going to get some life and some colour, and that you guys are all participating.
And so all my grandkids and now all the great-grandkids are all around, so very lucky. The family has sort of lived nearby, so I'm very lucky.
Walking a dog and going to a dog place is what I've found is the only place where you get community without joining something, like joining a club. And you know, I belong to lots of clubs, including the one next door to here, which has over 700 members of seniors. So yeah, so community is different than it was in the days when I had my children. I used to meet people through my children then, and establish good friendships. Yeah. So